Okay, with our Graco Gusmer Gap Pro Gun, what I do is I use a cold whip. That way I can connect. I've got an adapter here on the bottom, and I can adapt my Fusion gun block to use my Gap Pro Gun. I just went to a hydraulic shop and had me some hoses made up with JIC number 5s and JIC number 6, JIC 5 on the A side, JIC number 6 on the B side, and they're probably 14 inches long, and I got them crossed so everything bends and moves very well with this gun. So I can use a wide variety of different guns with the same fluid block. Okay, so I'm going to just go through the steps of how that I go about flushing this gun out. So I've got my manifold, my fluid manifold for my flush out tank installed, and the valves are turned on. I do like to go ahead and clean my gun screens first thing. That way I'm able to push any residual material inside of my cold whips out of the gun versus going through the mix chamber. So I'm going to be doing the B side first. So that's good and clean. Got good solvent going through. I'll go ahead, check my gun screen out, make sure that everything is good and clean. I can put it back together. I'm going to remove the A side. Flush this side out. It's all good and clean. Then of course, anytime we're using threaded components on the A side, we always like to use a little bit of gun grease on those threads. Makes it a lot easier taking them back apart the next go around. Again, working with gloves on, it can be a little cumbersome. Okay, now we've got our whip and our gun screens all flushed out. Now I'll go ahead and turn my manual valves on. We can go ahead and connect our gun up to air. Again, remember, this is an air purge gun, so when we hook this gun up to air, we're going to be exhausting air out of the mix module. So I do want to direct it in a good passageway. Turn my safety off. Need to use caution now. We got solvent inside of our bucket. If I was just to put the gun down into there, I'm going to be blowing solvent out. So I have to sort of work with a fairly quick motion. Okay, now I'm clearing out my manifold and my mix module. Now to come out of the bucket, gotta exit the bucket as I'm releasing my trigger. So I want to ensure that I've got my A side ports on my module clean. I'll go ahead and turn off my B side. Got a nice, good little stream going in. There we go. Good flow. We can B back up. Where we can flush them both out again. Okay, and that's pretty much all there is to flushing the Gap Pro, the Gusmer Gap Pro gun. It's a very good gun. I like, you know, I use a wide variety of different guns on my work, and I'm never just sticking with just one gun in particular, but I do have my favorites, of course. But you know, all of these guns, they do spray foam. They all do spray polyurea coatings. As I learned several years ago, I was told they just got different characteristics that makes them unique. They all have different little characteristics, and we have to learn what those characteristics are and adapt them into our everyday workings. So now that I've got this gun flushed out, I can now remove my solvent manifold from my gun, from my cold whips. Okay, got that removed. We want to start taking this gun apart. Take our side blocks off. Again, we have our handy dandy nut driver. We'll admit it's been a while since I've messed with this gun here. But it's just like riding a bicycle. So now we have our fluid blocks removed from our gun body, and these contain our side seals. Here is my A side seals and my B side seals. Okay. I want to check my side seals out. Make sure that they're good and clean. Have any scratches on them? The main thing what we do when we use these guns, we use them and we clean them when we get done, so that hopefully when we go back to them, whether it's the next day or several weeks later, that we pick that gun up and we put material to it and it sprays. What's aggravating is when we go and pick up our gun and install it up onto our hose, and we go to pull the trigger and either nothing comes out or only one material comes out. Can be very aggravating. So main thing here I'm trying to stress is take a little bit of time and properly clean your guns up. When you're done, service them so that when you go to use them again, they work. I always tell people with majority of my guns, about 99% of the times I can pick my guns up and they're going to work. I trust the reliability of my guns. So I'm going to check my check valves, and my check valves are on the back side of this side seal carrier. Okay, and I've got to pull it out. There we go. So I got my check valve removed. I just want to make sure that everything is working correctly on it. So right here is the check ball, the spring, everything's moving, everything's making a good seal, seems to be. So the check ball seems to be in good operating condition. Here's my side seal spring. Okay, this is what's providing the tension of the side seal out to the module. And then we have our side seal. This is the A side. So this will be our side seal component. Okay, we have an O-ring just around the perimeter. Everything looks good there, so I'll put a little bit of grease on the O-ring just to make sure that everything's good and lubricated. Drop our parts. If you've never dropped a part when you was reassembling the gun or disassembling the gun, then I say you've never actually done it. You've never actually worked with these components. They are little small components, and you will drop them from time to time. Just make sure that you see where that they go, because some can be small, and I know some of your work rigs, your trucks, your trailers, floors dirty. Generally a drop part can mean a lost part. So that is the A side seal. We will reinstall this into our side gun block. Put some grease on our threads. Again, working with the A side components, we know how that A side material can really glue stuff down. It's nice and tight. And you never want to over tighten these components either. So here is our B side. I'll take it out right quick just to verify that everything is okay. Some solvent. Have to go ahead and remove the side seal. Want to use caution with these. Again, we don't want to scratch them up, damage them. Remove our spring. This in here seems to be a little stuck, so I'm going to go in and just along the side and push it out. There we go. So I have this completely apart. Oh, there's my spring. Get that connected back in. There we go. Hooked. Okay. Now we can reassemble. Things working good. Go ahead and drain that little bit of solvent out. So I've got a damaged check ball. We'll have to put it back together. And I do have spare parts. That's why we always like to carry spare parts, because we never know when some of these are going to break. And it's not really broken, it's just I've got to reinstall the spring on there, but I'm not going to take the time to go about it. I'm just going to go ahead and put in a brand new check valve. That's why I carry spare parts. Yeah, just need to snug it up. Don't have to be overly tight. So that is my side blocks. I'll put these parts over to the side so I can repair them later and put them back into my box. We'll disassemble the front of the gun. Remove our cap. Go ahead and take the front of the gun off apart. With this one right here, I'm just going to go through the front of the gun. I'm not going to go through the entire gun with the air spool valve and the piston. Makes for a very long video. So I'll remove this. Now, remove my front portion of my gun. Along with, I've got a seal. I need to use caution here. Just want to gently push it out. This is their seal. So like a front seal for the mix chamber. So I've got our mix chamber here. I'll just unthread it. This one here is a SPI, Specialty Products mix chamber. It's a 000 000. Good low output, very good nozzle on it. Makes very good polyurea. When I bought this gun, this module was already in it. So take care of it. We'll reinsert the module. Be able to hold this and get this centered up. Now we can go ahead and reinstall. Everything is back in correctly. Again, you don't want to over tighten these. All these parts, the threaded components on the gun, these are all aluminum parts and they are helicoiled. You don't want to tighten them to a point where you strip them out. It's just not needed. We do not need that type of pressure on these guns. If we have a gun leaking, there is a particular reason why that gun is leaking. Probably we have a bad seal. So instead of trying to over tighten the gun to make it stop leaking, we need to stop, take the gun down, take it apart, and replace the seal that is causing the leak. Okay, I do like to put a little bit of gun lube on the face of my modules, on my side seals, which will be in direct contact with my modules. Get my sides all correct here. these cold whips does make it a little bit more cumbersome on putting these parts, side blocks back on. There. Sometimes they can give you a little bit of problem. You know, just take your time with it, persevere through it, show it who's boss. Voila, back together. So now, at the end of the day, if we're just going to shut down without flushing anything out, we're going to go about the proper procedure for shutting the gun down. Again, we use our operator's manual for the gun, but we're going to shut down and grease our gun. We want to have grease running through, we want to push grease through the module. Our grease gun. A little grease coming out. There we go. So not a lot, just a little bit of grease coming through that module there so that the inside is well greased up. This is on the Gap Pros, the Graco Gusmer. They got the Zerk fitting right here behind the front head of the gun. So just a simple maintenance to ensure that the next time we pick our gun up to spray, it's going to work for us. Remember, we're not making money if these guns are not spraying materials properly. So, if you have any questions, please contact me. My email address will be at the end of the video, and would love to have y'all at some of our training classes inside of the future. Keep a good eye out for us, and we hope to see you there. Thank you, and have a good day. Bye-bye.